Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Catherine Kelly, holistic health psychologist, author, speaker, and soul healing specialist. For the sake of these videos, I started doing these in a different way about 6 months ago. I really believe that, we have to look at the external experiences, or the things that happen around us energetically in order for us to understand why we might be triggered, why we might be feeling something. So about 6 months ago, I started these Evolving Souls forecasts, and I wanted to actually change how I do these things to actually jump in and have an astrologer help out. And Herb and I have known each other for almost a year and a half now, really. We do some other stuff together. But I wanted to kind of jump in and have him join me today to do this Evolving Souls forecast because although August was a little quieter in the astrological world, except for the eclipses, things are going to start ramping up again. And, as a psychologist, I know that people start feeling some sort of way. And I just want to give tools. And so I'm going to have Herb introduce himself, tell you all about, a little bit about him, and then we're going to jump in and we're going to lay out, similarly to what I've done before, the kind of the whole timeline of the events that are happening astrologically that are going to possibly influence how you experience life from a body, mind, and soul perspective. So, Herb, I want to just let you kind of introduce yourself. I'm so glad you're here. It's so
Thank
fun
you.
to work with you. So, I'm going to let you tell a little bit about you.
Thank you, Catherine, for having me here. It's a great experience, and I know we'll make some good headway here. My name is Herb Hernandez. I'm an astrologer. I'm also a holistic wellness coach. I'm also certified in plant-based nutrition. And so I like to body, mind, soul, tie them all together. And as an astrologer, I look at the planets as energetic sources that can affect your body, your mind, and your soul, and your people around you, politics, everything. So.
Wonderful. Well, and the reason I started doing these, years ago, and I would love for you to tell kind of the viewers how long you've been doing this, because for me, it was way back when I was about 20 years old and I was working for an adolescent psych unit, and I got to work at 3 o'clock, and the lead nurse said, "Oh gosh, this is going to be a tough night." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, it's full moon tonight." And at the time, I was into like the horoscope and things like that, but I didn't really know a lot. And he said, "Oh, yeah, just watch." And it was really interesting because, as they say, the natives were restless. Like the people in the unit were just stirred and they were restless. And the unit next door, the adult unit, was stirred. The child adolescent unit that was next door, I mean, all three of them were stirred. And I think we had like 3 or 4 intakes that night too. So that's when I first started paying attention to the astrological impact that can influence human behavior and emotions. And so I would love for you to tell the audience when you started, how you got interested in all of this.
I got into astrology when I was pretty young. I started around 16, and so that was going to be like around 1980. And I just found a little book about it, and I started reading it, and I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. And my family was much more oriented towards the sciences. Like my father is an engineer, worked on space shuttle projects. My brother's a chemist, and he's in charge of a new man-made molecule right now. So we've always had this kind of way of seeing the world in a very scientific sort of way. And then when I saw the astrology, I applied that to it as well. And I was just very interested. I was like, everything is energy. Oh my God, this. And one of the things that I first saw happen was when I started to realize, oh, but the moon is the closest planet. Well, not really planet is a moon to us, but it has such great force. And you can see it rules the tides and the waves. And we're made of mostly water, so it's affecting us as well. And I remember like being at the shore and at a full moon and looking over the dock and just watching the reflection of the moon on the water and the crabs coming up and going down and coming up and going down like that. I was like, wow, it affects the crabs.
Yeah.
Oh, moon, Cancer, the crab. And so I was like, oh, this is really interesting. So the people who, are ancients who came up with the horoscopes and zodiac signs and their attributes, they already figured that out, and they like put all the pieces together. But it's really nice to see some affirmations of the world around me. And also too, when you think of the moon, lunatic, it's how it affects like people's mental state. And so that's how they got the name. I was like, oh, interesting. All right. But I got into it for self-help for myself. At the time, I was going through some difficult realizations about not being prepared from adulthood and what that meant. And I was having a lot of like anxiety. I was having a lot of just not a good time.
Life stuff.
Really, yeah. So along with astrology, I went to see a psychologist, which was very, very helpful. I went to a couple of them that weren't that great, but I finally hit this one that really got it, and we had a really great dynamic. And so that's when I started like kind of like blending these languages together, and so that I can better understand myself and build a dialogue for myself. And then when I started doing, people like, oh, you should do this. You should tell me about my chart. And so I started, with family and friends, and it was just uncanny how like you can look some things up, not even knowing a person, and saying like, oh, you have definitely like family issues and issues surrounding like early childhood and how you developed and blah blah blah. And they're like, how did you know that? It's like
Yeah.
you have a compromised moon. And so it was just that's the way I got into it.
Well, and it really is, I know people who don't understand it don't think it's a science, but it is probably the oldest science. And again, we don't really know how the ancients figured everything out, but it kind of doesn't matter because, like you said, once you start looking at an astrological chart, you can kind of tell what the life lessons are. You can tell kind of what their life path is going to be. You can kind of tell what their astrological personality is going to be like. And that, as a psychologist, has been immensely helpful for me to understand that layer. And granted, I don't understand everything you do, but it's immensely helpful. And so with these evolving souls forecasts, I want to give tools. And this is what I'm all about, is giving tools, helping people grow, helping people evolve, helping people through the rough patches. And so, just helping people walk through step by step some of the astrological events that are happening and how they may influence you can be enormously helpful. So, this is what we're going to jump into. And Herb and I are going to do this from this point on and just see how this goes and play with it. And because we know each other, we can play off of each other. So, I'm going to have him list out one by one, kind of do the timeline of what's going to be happening in September, and I will chime in and kind of share a little bit more about how it might impact you from the emotional perspective. But he's very adept at doing this too. So we're just going to kind of go through this and have you kind of listen and make some notes and see, kind of just observe yourself throughout the month and also learn how to cope a little bit through this. So I'm going to let you jump in because we start September off right on September 1st with some events. So I'm going to have you jump in and go from there, and I'll chime in.
Sure. Thank you. So on the 1st of September, it starts off with Mars square Saturn. Mars is like the blood and muscle ego planet. It's the motivator. It also rules the head, so it's prone to headaches. And it also it likes to have an open pathway. So with the Mars square Saturn, Saturn is like the roadblock. The square is a challenge to those energies. So you're revving your car and you're pressing against something and the car is not going. So that's kind of like that energy there, which can be pretty frustrating and give you a headache.
Yeah, so
Or,
so
and then Saturn also rules depression
yeah.
and loneliness. Yeah.
So the way that I would interpret that too is for the people that don't understand the language, don't worry about too much about what, Mars squaring Saturn means. The squaring you don't have to like really think about unless you want to dive in. But what Herb said is, okay, so if you are like revving up to do something, but you're hitting a block and you're like, for the people who take things personally, or the people who get really frustrated with life in general, confidence issues, things like that, that can be a particularly tough day for you. Because again, it's like, okay, I'm raring to go, but shit, I can't go anywhere.
Right.
So that's the kind of stuff to kind of think about as you learn, as we talk through these some of these things. Anything else you want to add about the first?
Yeah, also at the same time, there's a good aspect between Mercury and Mars. So that kind of alleviates it a little bit, but also can add to the frustration because the Mercury Mars energy in a sextile, which is about growth and the planets working together, Mercury is about communication and getting great ideas. So this is like, I want to run with this idea. This is a great idea. And now,
Yeah.
it could, so it can be like definitely a little frustrating.
So clarity and then having to put on the brakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, so again, the reason I do these is to help you understand, oh gosh, if you're feeling some of this, there's some external source that's creating it. But the way to look at this is how can I learn from this? So if you're feeling like you're supposed to push forward, but the brakes are on, what that also means is to step back and observe what is going on within me that might also be blocking my progress. What is it that might be, I'm raring to go, but maybe the universe is trying to get you to slow down to get even more details before you get into something you really don't want to get into. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that too.
Yeah, I do. I definitely feel that what you said was on point. And one of the things about Saturn is about doing things right. It doesn't want anything halfway done and then given out. It wants full good work done. And so this is the time where you do run into that thing. It's like, oh, maybe I should research this a little bit more. Maybe I can work things around or maybe just timing wise, it's just not the time right now to do it. And it's a time to just keep track of these ideas.
So planting seeds, but knowing that if there's a roadblock, there's a reason for it. I always tell people when we work for the universe with the universe works with us. But that's where again, like you said, ego comes in. And sometimes if your ego is too strong, where it's trying to like work against the energies, you're going to get even more frustrated. So this is like, okay, how can you learn from this experience?
Now,
Perfect.
one of the good things with to counterbalance that you can do is just do a little bit of exercise, just do some movement stuff to like really open up the Mars energy and flow, and that just may help you feel a little bit better, change your environment.
Yeah, burn out some of the angst and open up to maybe what the newness is.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I love it. And then we have a little bit of not really a break because this stuff isn't just one day, it kind of carries over, but then we don't have much happening until the 10th. So jump.
Yes. And then on the 10th, we have a new moon in Virgo. And this is it's an interesting one because it activates what is happening now called the magic triangle, and that's between uh, Pluto, Uranus, and Mercury. And they're also making this grand trine in air. There's a lot of like things going on, which is good, which are good aspects. They're good energy working together. So it's fresh ideas to solve old problems. It's ways of like innovations, which is really great. But also at the same time, happening, you have Pluto square Venus or Venus square Pluto. That's a challenge. Venus rules the feminine sort of like aspect, art, beauty, culture, relationships. And Pluto's the god of the underworld. So Pluto is very intense. It has depth. It rules psychology, and it rules like the idea of transformation, bringing something from one thing to another. And so it's a very intense little ice cube in the sky, as Neil deGrasse calls it. Um, and also at the same time, Uranus goes retrograde on that day.
Okay.
So Uranus retrograde is not such a big deal. That's more like kind of like what you might see politically, where kind of like ideas move forward and then stop and have to be revised before they move forward again. But the thing that is difficult is with Venus square Pluto is it does test relationships and there is potential for relationship abuse or issues with women's safety.
So some intensity right around the 10th, and to be mindful that if that stuff revs up, again, there's lessons to learn from it and maybe a different way to take action.
Exactly. Yep.
Wonderful. So again, from a psychological perspective, it's one of those things where, this is not going to be true for every single human on the planet, but you might see it happening around you. You might see it happening in families or friends, or yourself. And so this is just, again, another way to observe kind of, oh, well, this is how these external energies can impact us from a human perspective. Perfect. Okay. So then we jump to the 14th.
The 14th is a nice one. Sun sextile Mars. Both of them are about very initiating energies, like getting something started, launching things, launching that perspective and it's a good energy. So you really want to use it and make the best of it. So maybe that like the beginning of the month difficulty you had getting the project going. Maybe now this is the time where the wheels are actually not just spinning, but actually taking you somewhere. So now that would be a nice time to kind of like uh, move things forward. Pure inspiration, start that project.
Wonderful. So again, feeling more inspired, more action oriented, more ready to, like you said, take those steps forward. And this is what is so cool, again, because I talk about, evolution never happens as fast as we'd like it to, and it never happens in a straight line. So in other words, our ego thinks, oh, here's the idea, we got to go with it. But sometimes the universe is like, let's hold off on this until we get these things tweaked a little bit more. But then when you lean into things like on the 14th, that's when the energies are opening for you to actually change something or open something up, or even just start the project without like launching it. So that's this is just a different way to interpret.
And sometimes it's just like making your intent at that day. You don't really have to buckle down and get the work done. You can just say like, okay, universe, it's my intent to get this project going. Speak to me, bring that energy back to me, and show me that it's the right time.
Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. And then we have a little bit more of a rapid fire series of things happening after that. So the very next day we kind of overlay into the next event.
Yeah, we have that's when the Venus Pluto thing I was speaking about before, that's when it's at its tightest aspect. So that's when it's like that at its strongest. And it again, testing relationships, potential for abuse, issues with women's safety. There also is like this idea of greed a little bit that comes out with like Venus loves gifts and it's like likes finances, and Pluto can be take a little bit of an underhanded turn towards that. So it is important for you to be kind of like on the up and up with your partner and with yourself, and not put yourself in dangerous situations.
And like you said, from the financial perspective, kind of keep an eye out.
Yeah,
Keep
that
an eye.
could be the swindle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. And then the 18th.
Mercury opposition Saturn. Okay, that's not a fun one.
Yeah.
So there's Mercury, which rules the mind and the thinking, which can get sometimes caught up in itself and just race and race and race. And then you have Saturn, which is like things need to be done correctly. I'm Big Daddy Karma. You need to slow down. You da da da. And again, more like roadblocks, kind of situations. But also, this has a little bit more of an effect on like how you think and how you respond to things. And it is very critical thinking, self-critical, can be depression. And you could look back at like the past things that you didn't complete correctly, and now they're coming back to haunt you.
So, how I would interpret that as a psychologist for people to kind of pay attention to is that if you have anxiety and you are a ruminator, you're probably going to get into, you have the opportunity or the likelihood to get into a loop of ruminating and overthinking and being critical and also perfectionism. So, if someone is kind of a perfectionist, this might be a time when you kind of have to tamp that down a little bit and realize that that intensity is coming from outside of you. But if you have that sort of proclivity to do that, if you have that likelihood or predisposition to be anxious and to overthink and to spin in cycles and loops, that might be the time to be careful. And like Herb said, it's like if you have that old stuff coming up, it doesn't mean that it's the way that I look at it is it just means that the next layer of it is ready to be healed. So it doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, I haven't healed all this stuff, I haven't worked through it. But the universe brings stuff to the surface for us because it wants us to release it, heal, resolve it so we can move on and evolve. So things like right around the 18th can feel intense from a psychological perspective. But again, if you flip it and understand that if you do that work around that time to resolve it, you're going to get to the next level.
Right. And also it's okay to take that personal day.
Yeah.
And it's like that one instance where it's like, okay, I'm just going to clear my schedule and bring the energy back to me and ground myself before I try to like, what's going on? Where am I going at? Push, push, push. And so I always tell people it's great to take that restorative day.
And I guess I would say for those of you who can't take the full day off, make sure
Mm.
you plan ahead for self-care. So
Yeah.
whether it's quiet time, some restorative time, some journaling, everybody who follows me knows that I'm huge on journaling because just processing on paper can be so helpful and restorative. But that when these things come up, I always talk about self-care and soul care because anything that stirs us is there to learn from and experience, but also, we have to be kind to ourselves as we heal. So, right,
Definitely.
I'll take a day off. I'll have to look to see what day that is so I can look at my own calendar. Okay, so the 21st.
21st is a nice one. We have Mercury sextile Jupiter. This is a very benevolent and very benevolent for commerce and trade, negotiations. This is when things go easily come together, collaborations easily can come together. And it's up there, it brings out the both opportunity side of Jupiter as well as the organizational and communicative side of Mercury. And they're both like working together. Like, let's see the big picture. Let's fill in the details. And both of them are working together to bring the whole picture together.
So, like you said, good for like, not only communication, but negotiation. Like, this is
Yes, so
time to
definitely.
and like really work through details and look at it from, Jupiter is so expansive that it's all about expanding something for our next step.
And also make a time to plan a vacation.
Okay.
It's like make the plans for it, not actually do it, but or if you already have the plans and look at that day, I'm leaving on that day. Fantastic.
I like that idea.
Organizations are definitely good.
Great, great, wonderful. All right, the 22nd. So again, a little bit of rapid fire stuff happening here.
The 22nd is the fall equinox. There are no exact aspects to the fall equinox, so let's use that to our advantage. So I always feel like when there's no exact aspects, you can mold it into something that you want at the moment and say put your intent into there. But the fall equinox has to do with the idea of completing another cycle.
Mhm.
And in our country, our northern hemisphere, it's going to be fall. Um, and so this is all about like the harvest and celebrating those sorts of like things. And it can open up a good community-minded way. It's the sign of Libra is being announced, and that Libra loves people and
Alan.
loves, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So that
and
could be a good community day.
another thing that I throw out there for equinox in the fall, and I always talk about this in general, and you mentioned the word harvest, it's also a really good time to carve out just a little bit of time to look back and reflect and kind of harvest kind of what has changed for you, any positive things you've been working on that have come to fruition. Just kind of look at, gosh, what has your evolutionary process been? What have you been intentionally trying to change? How has that gone so far? So you can kind of take stock, and then that just sets you up for the next layer and cycle of growth. So
Beautiful. Yeah, I agree.
I kind of go with that one. All right, the 25th.
25th. That's a little bit of a difficult one. So we'll have the Sun opposition Neptune. Neptune, on its bad days, so to speak, or its difficult aspects are confusion, lies, deceptions, victim mentality. It also rules physically. It rules viruses and swelling, as well as poisonous poisons.
Okay. So
So those,
what
hmm?
might that look like then?
So yeah, so the sun is like bringing to light something. That's, the sun is like the ball of energy that's bringing to light. So when it's opposition to Neptune, it's like shining a light on everything that's seemingly wrong.
Okay.
And like, that you can be like, oh no, I forgot this. Oh no, that what they told me that wasn't even true. I'm being sold something that is not true.
Okay.
Or, oh, now I found out that this person was lying to me. And, so and it could be like that complicated to is an easy one of just like you get up in the morning and you forget you had a certain schedule planned for that day and you're like, oh shit. I just like forgot. So on the very least, it could be just like forgetfulness or missing the kind of like missing the boat.
So
And
I'm curious from a global perspective. I don't know why I'm being led to ask you from a global perspective, what might that look like?
oh, the deceptions in the press and in the public, people putting their feelings in place of facts.
Okay.
And so I think, and politically speaking, that's a big one these days. So that it could be chock full of like political mudslinging and other deceptions.
So, and could it be, and maybe this is the hopeful part of it, could be also revelation of some things that we need to see and need to know, or am I misinterpreting that?
Oh yeah, no, it is true. Neptune is also part of the magic triangle that's going on right now with the reformations and putting a positive vision. So you can what I feel is the difficulty is like everyone is going to think their vision is the right vision.
Got it.
And the sun has that ego quality as well. No, my vision is the best. No, my vision is the best. And so there could be a little bit of complications with that, but it can bring also to like oh, I forgot about that. I should have included that.
Okay.
So yeah, I missed that. And this is an important thing that is positive and can move forward right now.
Well, and what I'm observing as you're talking is that we're going to have one of those months where it's like, oh, we're feeling okay this day, and the next day it's not going to feel so good, and then oh gosh, I'm feeling okay, and then the next day, and that can be hard on the psyche and the soul because of the fact that you're like, okay, what is real and what is true, and then you can feel like you're going through a little bit of a roller coaster. So, you have listed in the notes here is that that's a mental health day, another opportunity for mental health day, and
Mhm.
that makes a lot of sense again from that. Okay, are you exhausted from that roller coaster? Well, make sure you're breathing through it. Make sure you're observing it. Make sure you're taking that time for yourself. I don't know if you want to add something to that too.
No, no, I agree because the next day you have like a positive energy from that. So it's like you rest up, you nourish yourself, nurture, nourish, nurture, and give yourself the time, and then you're restored for the next day where the energy is working and you gave yourself the time to recover.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. So yeah, and like you said, the next day.
Is on the 26th we have Sun trine Pluto. Sun trine Pluto is I think is really a really, really great and important aspect for things that you really want to bring about big change in your life. And you're saying like, okay, I'm ready to take on those bad habits, those things I let slip, and I'm going to put a plan together.
Nice.
So that and the Pluto gives that determination to follow that plan through. It's like a laser beam that's like focused on something. So you're taking the sun's light, you're putting it through a laser beam, and you're having it really like work and make something transform. It's great for understanding also to your own personal psychology and what is working for you as well. It's like, oh, pat myself on the back. I did give myself time to fix that or understand that about myself. And now I can see where it's opening me up to physical things, my world that are opening up for that I can change. Centrine Pluto, again, like politically, you might see some other things that are like this is when a new idea becomes a bill becomes a law that is very restorative, or something else that was going to be a law but wasn't good is blocked
Okay.
from being that. So this is like it's like the counterbalance to like the previous day or the previous energy. Yeah.
So stirring things up so they can be calmed the next day.
Yeah.
And in our notes, you say restoration and transformation. And, it's that whole thing where maybe this is the time when some of those things I think about it from a behavior change perspective, since I'm a psychologist and I also do the soul healing work, is sometimes we aren't ready to do change. We can mull it around for quite a while.
Mhm.
It sounds like right around the 26th, you might be like, okay, I'm ready to actually take action on this.
Right. That could also be like a good day in therapy where something is revealed to you that then motivates you to take on that personal challenge and make it better.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, we like to hear the expansive part of it because I know the bumpy part is not as pleasant. All right, so the 27th, Mars comes back. What the heck?
Yeah, so Mars moves out of Cancer and into Leo. And just there's nothing really like big aspect happening to it, but it just changes the frequency, so to speak. It's like turning a radio dial a little bit. And now Mars is going to be like coming out of like the family home sort of like uh, avenue and going into like, oh, creative self-expression. Let's do something fun. Um, what can we accomplish as and have fun with? And that's a good nice place for Mars to be. Mars likes being in the sign of Leo. So
And Mars likes action, but it sounds like this is a gentler action.
yes, and this could be a little more like entertainment. It could be like just like, oh, you find yourself like singing along while you're cleaning your house.
Okay, nice.
Or you watched that great movie, or you went to that great concert, and the next day you're like, whoa, wow, that was so amazing. That was so glad I did that.
Yeah,
Gives you the energy. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay, and then right after that, the 28th.
On the 28th, I love this one too. Sun trine Uranus. So that is beautiful energies working together. The sun, which is brings light to things and strength and focus, and Uranus, which loves innovation, changes, and new ideas. The thing about Uranus is it's the only planet that spins on its side. So
Ah,
all the other planets spin on their axis like this, and it's the only one that spins sideways. So it has to do with like seeing a different perspective and working with a different kind of like energy just in itself. It also rules, Uranus also rules LGBTQ and communities that are a little bit different from the average or what people call normal. I don't say that myself, but but so you have the sun and Uranus saying, brilliant ideas, brilliant innovations, brilliant ideas and changes. Let's all put them together in like a nice little bag of shells and mix it all up and look at like what can come out. It's going to look like stars in the sky.
yeah, and the way that I learned about Uranus is that it's a stirrer, but it's not always a stirrer of bad things.
No,
It's to stir. It's kind of like you said, a rock tumbler. It's like rock tumbler is all about polishing things up, and
mhm.
the sun is all about shining the light on something. So it sounds like again that could be a really cool day.
Yeah, and also like politically too, that could be like where the underdog of change is now coming more into power. And they're like, we said they would never be able to make those changes. And now it's like, oh my God, look at them making these amazing changes.
Wonderful.
And so that's a nice one, yeah.
That in our world right now. So that's good. Okay, and then again, another rapid fire the very next day. We've got Mercury opposing Chiron.
Yeah. So that's again, that's like a attention to old wounds. Chiron is the wounded warrior, that recognizes what needs to be healed or what wound is still open that needs to be looked at. And Mercury is like going to look at the details of that all. It could be a little bit critical. So that combination could be like, oh, again, I'm feeling this again. I thought I solved this problem. I thought I met this match. And now here it is coming up again. So it could be like, but the good thing about it is if you have someone to talk to about it, even forming the dialogue with yourself about it, saying, okay, I'm feeling like this. Why am I feeling like that? Or you can say, like, talking to a friend, they're like, oh my God, I feel the same way.
Mhm.
So it kind of like brings together this idea of like, we're all in the same boat. We all have wounds.
Yep.
How do we heal them?
Well, and Chiron is something that it's a it from what I understand, it's not technically a planet.
Mm. It's an asteroid, yeah.
but it's basically an energy that was discovered in the late 70s. Is that right?
I I think so. I'd have to look that up. Look that up a little bit more. One of the things I find interesting about Chiron or Chiron, however you pronounce it, what like to pronounce it, is that now that Virgo, which has been ruled by the planet Mercury, they're now thinking of taking Virgo and putting it under Chiron's rulership because it has the other side of Virgo is that idea of like healing wounds. Virgos are one of the biggest ones that end up being nurses,
Right.
doctor's assistants, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so from a psychology perspective, and this is where I want to say a few things about this. This is where, again, this is right up my alley because I tell people, things don't happen to us, they happen for us. So when those old wounds come up, it's not to beat up on yourself that you haven't worked through it or resolved it. It's just there's another layer of it.
Mm.
And so it's like, again, if we were dealing with our old wounds every single day, it would be too much. And so that's why we have to have cycles of when this stuff comes in and out so that we can go work on other stuff or we can get a little break. And yet when those layers push something to the surface, again, it's because I've had so many people coming in my office saying, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with the same thing from 20 years ago. It's like, well, but it's not the same thing. It's the new layer of whatever the old thing is and how it affects you now. So whenever I hear about things coming up, I tell people it's like just observe it, don't get absorbed by it, and look at what can you learn from it now? What is it that what is the next layer of this? What is or maybe there's even a new revelation about it that's coming up. So again, I never look at any of this stuff as bad stuff, although it can be uncomfortable stuff.
Mhm.
So
I always say like good things can come out of bad situations, bad things can come out of good situations. It's how we perceive things is if you perceive things in a way of kindness, it's going to go a lot easier.
well, and again, just to lighten the mood from what happens with the human condition, which can be hard and relentless sometimes, is that a whole idea that, well, two things that I like to tell people is that, discomfort always accompanies our evolution. We have growing pains. We're going to feel uncomfortable, but that discomfort is there to nudge us to do our work. And then the other thing I always say is fear always accompanies or precedes our evolution too and our transformation. So if fear is coming up because these old wounds are there, it's really, again, it's part of the natural process and you getting through the next layer of it. So, this is all about, our human and soul healing.
Definitely, definitely so. And if you want an investigative journalist, on the 30th, you have Mercury entering Scorpio. So you have the idea of like communication and thought and action that's more mental and mentally active. And then Scorpio, which wants to go into things more deeply. It's like, what's behind that? That's the surface of what's down in the depths of that. So that opens up like the idea of like psychology right there is it's a beautiful one. Detective work. It's like who did it? How did they do it? Where were they? What happened? Uncovering the details, the mysteries of things is the real essence around Mercury moving into Scorpio, and that's an and also too like Scorpio is more feeling oriented while Mercury is more fact oriented. So this is a time where and for this it's like analyzing well, what are my truths? And are they truths or are they just really strong feelings?
Yeah, I love that. I love that because again, like you said, the work both for soul healing and the psychological world are about digging in. And yet I like to also use the word sensing. Like how do we sense our way into the next level rather than, you know, get absorbed by those emotions. So it's a little bit more of a loving detachment from the situation so you can really, dig in without that discomfort as much.
And also too, it's like the mind, Scorpio, psychic sort of side that can open up like your own sense of vision, psychic vision, and psychic interpretation of the world around you. You're not just seeing a plant outside; you're seeing like this function of energy that has roots and leaves and blah blah blah, and this place and this purpose.
Yeah.
And so it adds the depth
Yeah.
that we all need to feel like that we're just living something that's not just mundane.
Right. So if you were to sum up September, how would you sum it up?
I would say, well, September is a mixed bag, and it's definitely like has these stop and go moments to it. So be flexible. That's the main thing I say about it is be flexible and and open to taking a different route.
Mhm. Yeah.
So where roadblock is putting you away, you don't try to smash through it. Step, like you're saying, step back and say, like, why is this roadblock here? Is there a way around it?
So what I would say from what we've talked about today is, be prepared for a little bit of, up and down, but look at it as, some people love roller coasters and some people don't.
Mhm.
But look at it as, okay, it's a bit of a ride this month, but also, if you just observe and maintain self and soul care, you're going to get where you need to be anyway.
Yeah.
And so, I look at this as, okay, I push self-care all the time. And I do look at self-care a little bit differently than soul care, meaning that self-care is the basics, exercise, nutrition, good sleep, all of that. Soul care is being much more intentional about what you need at that deep level. And
Mhm.
that's where I encourage people to, absorb themselves in something that's like, for me, it's a hot, warm bath at the end of every week. It's like, okay, that is so restorative for me, being out in nature and just absorbing that. So really looking at and getting clearer for what it is that restores you along the way, as well as like Herb said, being observant and really kind of taking stock in what your process has been over the month, and using all of this to your advantage.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I really feel like we are given all of this beauty, this life, all these different amazing types of energy. And sometimes we're just like really short-sighted with it. And it's really great to just like step back, see the big picture of like potential and allow it to inspire you.
And understand again that the universe is here influencing us in this way. So it pushes us toward welcoming our evolution.
Right. I always like that saying, as above, so below, or the microcosm, macrocosm. It's all the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any final thoughts or words or encouragements for the people that might be watching?
Yes, I would say like the main thing is like to is perspective. Keeping a positive perspective, even under a difficult situation, can be really, really like helpful. And ask for help. You don't have to do everything on your own. Ask for help.
Wonderful. I love it. Ask for help, nurture. Also, again, just realize that we are on this journey together, like Herb said earlier. And, I
We
said
can all lick our wounds together.
exactly, exactly. I said something to a client about 3 weeks ago, and I wrote it down. And I said, we're all on different paths, but we're all in the same boat. So we might all have different twists and turns in our path, but we're all doing this together. And this is why I like to do these videos, is to say, hey, we've got some information here that's going to help you through the month, and take stock in it, and then observe whoever is around you, and realize that, again, everybody's on their path. It's just, but we are definitely in this human condition boat together.
Definitely, definitely so.
If you
It's great sharing the boat with you.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yes. And it's, I don't see myself as a captain of the boat. I see myself as a steward of this boat, and trying to help everybody kind of come together. And
Grab an oar.
so if people want to contact you directly, how can they do that?
Well, below this video, I'm sure we'll have some links in the description. And then if you, I also have a YouTube channel if you want to go over to, it's Hernandez Astrologer. And I do new moon forecasts and full moon forecasts. And I also just like leave myself open to hearing from you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Herb, thank you so much. This is so fun to do this and
Likewise.
together, and see what we can do to be stewards of this whole consciousness thing together.
Awesome. Look forward to the next.
All right. For all of you, if you do have questions or if you have comments, feel free to put them in the comment section of the video. Either Herb or myself can answer those. And we look forward to helping you along in the future. So have a wonderful day, and you take care of yourselves and yourself.
Big hugs, 15 minutes.